The James Harden saga still looms over the Sixers season. We'll talk about that and more next on Locked On 76ers.
You are Locked On 76ers, your daily Philadelphia 76ers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for making Locked On 76ers your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Hello, my name is Keith Pompey. I'm the host of Locked On 76ers, and if you see a different background, it's because I'm in Milwaukee for Thursday night's game, season opener against the Milwaukee Bucks. Now, the Sixers been working hard, been doing a lot of things, but they had a little bit of a visitor, so to speak. We'll say that, a visitor at Wednesday's practice. No, I shouldn't just say a visitor. Let's say who it is. James Harden showed up to Wednesday's practice after being a no-show for 10 days. And his intent was to come back to the team and make the trip here to Milwaukee. Well, Sixers weren't really having it. So we'll talk about this whole situation right now in the first segment. In the second segment, we'll talk about, I'll give you my predictions for this team this year, right? And then in the third segment, I'll just say, hey, here are certain guys I feel like are going to have great years. Two really come to mind. I give you a sneak peek. Tobias Harris, I feel like he's going to perform well. Tyrese Maxey perform well. And Jaden Springer, I think he's going to step up his games. But without burning the lead, let's talk about James. So a lot of y'all are probably aware of yesterday, Wednesday, that James Harden attended practice. Now, like I said before, he's away for 10 days. Now, the Sixers are saying that he was away because of personal reasons, right? I know his mom is sick. But also, James was upset because, and people could downplay it as much as they want, but he was upset because he hadn't been traded. The talks with the Sixers and the Los Angeles Clippers had been stalled, and James was just he wasn't feeling it. So it's funny a little on how he comes back. So James comes back the day before the season starts, and he wants to practice. And now the thing is, more attention is going to be paid to the Sixers, at least also in Philly. And like that, the Phillies were eliminated in the Major League playoffs on Tuesday night. So now all the attention that the Phillies used to get is now coming on to the Sixers. Now, again, the Eagles are still number one in the city of Philly. But as far as like eyes, the love that the Phillies were going to get, the Sixers are going to get now. So it's more things. So now, more so than ever, James is a bigger distraction, right? So he shows up. Nick Nurse finds out that he is going to show up on Tuesday night. James gets here. He does some drills in the beginning of practice. They do their drills, no scrimmaging. But when they worked on their game plan, they did all the other stuff, James didn't practice. Now, towards the end, when they did some other things, some conditioning things, some things like that, James participated in that. Now, from what I'm told is that James didn't, was a little bit unhappy that he wasn't going on that trip, like disappointed. But what the Sixers are saying is they're saying that the reason why James didn't go on the trip is because he needs to ramp up. He's been away for 10 days. He's been this, he's been that. But let's be honest. Right now, if James Harden went on that trip, this is a national televised game. A lot of other things going on. He would be a major, I mean, major distraction, right? And then, let's face it, James is still here. I'm assuming he didn't expect to be here by the season opener, right? So he's been a good trooper. He's been doing everything the Sixers asked. Well, not everything, because if he would have done everything, he wouldn't have left, right? But and he would have played in some games, right? But the thing is, preseason game. Although they're saying, he had to ramp up the conditioning and all that, but what happened to PJ Tucker? He was supposed to ramp up conditioning, right? So, in other words, so my thing is, it's like, do you, although they're going to say it's all about conditioning, do you want James Harden to basically be disruptive on this road trip? Or do you want him not even just be disrupted? Do you want him to be a distraction? It's only 2 games, right? But these may be 2 defining games. At least the first one. It's going to be a barometer to see where you guys stand against the Milwaukee Bucks, a team that's favored to contend for not just the Eastern Conference title, but the NBA championship this year. They have Dame Lillard, they have all this and that. Now, did I expect James to play? No, no, not whatsoever. But just his mere presence with this team, no one knows how it would turn, what would happen. You know, no one does. And then, NBC Sports Philadelphia, John Clark, reported that a source told him that even after James was told that he wasn't going to make the trip, he still showed up for the team plane, trying to board the plane. And then he had to be told again that it was best for him to not make the trip, and he wasn't going to make it. So this is something that you need to pay attention to, seriously, because I honestly feel like the thing could get a little crazy. I think James is going to be on his best behavior in the beginning, with the hope that trade talks will reemerge with the Sixers and the Clippers. Because now the Clippers are saying that they don't, they're out of it. But you knew that was going to happen. I mean, all this stuff is. I mean, how many times have they said that? Right, this is the second time. But it's all to like, hey, well, maybe we need to lower our offer. You know what I mean? It could be some gamesmanship in this. But how long is James going to say, how long is James going to be a great guy? Like, how long is he going to do what they want? How long is he going to be on his best behavior? I mean, seriously. Because again, I believe he's only doing it so he doesn't get traded. Yeah. I mean, it's crazy, but it is what it is, right? Now listen, I want to talk to y'all guys about PrizePicks, right? Um, PrizePicks is the largest independently owned daily fantasy sports platform in North America. We are the easiest and most exciting way to play DFS. It's just you against the numbers. Instead of battling thousands of players, including pros and sharks, you pick more or less than in the 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll on. Right? I'm telling you. With PrizePicks reboot policy, your entries stay in play even if you or one of your players get injured. For NFL games and CFL top 25 matchups, if you have a player who exits the game in the first half and does not return in the second, the player is rebooted. PrizePicks is the only daily fantasy sports platform with injury insurance. Yo, as much as I play fantasy football, I'm feeling that. Like I really am. I'm feeling that. Player and stat types you're selecting highlights your winnings from PrizePicks, right? How fun and simple the experience of playing in the game. So now how do you get into this, right? How do you go to this? You go to prizepicks.com/locked on NBA and use the code locked on NBA for a first deposit match up to $100. Right? Right? Again, go to prizepicks.com/locked on NBA and use the code locked on NBA for first deposit match up to $100. I'm telling y'all, do it today, people. Definitely do it today. You won't, I'm telling you, you won't be let down. Now, so James has been a distraction. And how can it not? I mean, you can tell the distraction. Nick Nurse, his mood got a little better, but you could tell like the day before, let's say Monday's practice or Wednesday, Tuesday's practice, Nick Nurse comes out fun loving. He's asked about the possibility of having 6 starters, and he says, "Oh, we're down to 5," laughing, right? Down to 5, like basically assuming James probably wasn't coming back. Probably wasn't coming back. And then all of a sudden, he was more serious on Wednesday. Now you can argue that because when I covered Temple, Fran Dunphy was a pleasure to be around for me, and he used to let me come to practice then. But he was a pleasure to be around, like after games. I'm talking about like the day after a game for practice, or like if they had a practice and they didn't have a game for like 2 days or whatever. He was great. As soon as they had the day before a game, he was a little, I'm not gonna say difficult, but his attitude just changed. His mentality, he was locked in, he was focused. A couple of times I wrote something, he said something to me. And I remember one time afterwards he apologized and after the game. And from what he said the day before. And I said, "Look, coach, I feel honored because I see how you get on your guys and I see how they change, so I didn't get upset. But Nick Nurse's mood was different yesterday, right? And when you look at the Sixers team, this is a big test, like I said before. Not only is they're playing the Milwaukee Bucks, Nick Nurse is going up against his former assistant and Adrian Griffin. So there's some familiarity there. But then you got Dame Lillard playing in his first game as a Milwaukee Buck. Like I said before, the Bucks are not only a contender for the Eastern Conference title, but the championship, right? You may say that the Phoenix Suns, the Denver Nuggets, and the Boston Celtics are the teams, right? They're the teams, tier one, so to speak. So this is a big game. And the Sixers been working hard. I'm telling you, they've been putting in the work. And we're going to get a good idea of what they are. I mean, you got Tyrese Maxey running the point. You look at DeAnthony Melton the last game. I know it was helter skelter, whatever, but he had 29 points. They're talking about posting up Tobias Moore, getting Tobias Moore involved, getting them a lot of touches, 20 touches a game, 20 shots a game. There's just a lot, man, a lot. And then it's also, the Sixers have a lot to prove too. They do. Player like man to man, they all say it. I asked Kelly Oubre, is he hungry? And he says, I'm starving. I'm starving. So there's a lot going on with this game. And it's going to be exciting, so to speak, from once they finally get on the court. But like I said before, that elephant is still in the room. And the elephant is James Harden not being around. So there's a lot to unpack here, a lot to digest, and we'll just see how everything works out for the Sixers. We'll be right back in a couple seconds. Now, when we talk about players who I think will have a big game, like I said, I think Tobias is going to play well. I honestly do. I think Tobias is going to have a pretty good season. I think Tobias under Nick Nurse is going to be more like the player he was under Doc Rivers when he was with the Clippers. I do. Um, the difference is, again, he is still playing with Maxey. He is still playing with Joel. However, I feel like it's going to be a more of a conscious effort that we know get the ball. Tyrese Maxey. I feel like Tyrese Maxey is going to be phenomenal. Now, right now, we're going to be honest. Is this a tough test? Yeah, it's a tough test. But I'm assuming he's not going to guard Dave. I'm assuming that, right? When they go to Boston, it's still going to be a tough test. But the one thing about Tyrese last year, and Doc Rivers always tried to do, is he wanted him to be more aggressive. He wanted him to say, hey, you know what? I know I got these two guys with me, Harden, Embiid, but I still have to be aggressive. I still have to attack. I still have to take my own shot. I feel like that opportunity is here. Now, the fact that he has Joel Embiid on the floor is going to free some things up. He's going to get some looks, right? I get that. But the one guy I think that's really going to benefit from it all could be DeAnthony Melton. It could be, because now he's going to go and he's probably going to be the fourth scorer, fourth option. It could be, but it's going to elevate. And the reason why it's going to elevate is because people are going to be guarding other guys, and he's going to get a lot of wide open looks, right? He's going to get a lot of wide open looks that he can take advantage of. But Jaden Springer coming off the bench, sometimes there are certain players you root for. I'm rooting for him because here's a guy who didn't really play his first 2 years, and people can say blame the coach, but let's face it, he was the second youngest guy in the NBA draft. Like, Jaden was a guy who basically started school early. Seriously, like, he was in the first grade when he should have been in kindergarten. Like real rap. That's how young he was. So even though he was a McDonald's All-American, even though he was a one and done, he was young. He was a baby. He was a pup. And this was a grown man league. So I feel like these 2 years benefited him a little bit, right? But I think he's ready now. He's actually ready. I know. He's ready now to show what he can do. So it's going to be interesting. But look, y'all, I want to thank y'all for listening. You need to know you can get this podcast wherever you get your podcast at. It's free and available. But also go to the YouTube channel. When you go to the YouTube channel, make sure you like it, leave a comment, click on the Liberty Bell. And when you do that, you become a new subscriber and you get notifications when the next podcast comes out, right? So I want y'all to have a blessed day. Enjoy it. Have fun watching the game. The whole nine. Peace.